two meetings per year that we're having. We have one in the spring, one in the fall. We're trying to have some lively discussion and some interesting topics. And so we'll get going right away. My name is Ed Kinzadi. I'm the current president of the Neighborhood Association. Dale's back, she's the vice president. Then we have a couple other board members, Jim, Dylan, Financial, and Yona is our secretary. So far, so that's what we've got with us tonight. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you will find standing, I'll lead us off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And we have some treats back there coming with the Wayside Market. On the way to the freeway right there, he supplies us with some little treats every time. So if you have a chance, you stop in there, say thank you very much. We appreciate that. We also have some water and some coffee up here. Questions are behind me. So those are all your needs. I can't imagine what else you would do besides that. So we're going to start off with financial report. So Jim, where are we at with the millions of dollars?
Well, since we met last, we've taken in a lot of 28 cents. So we're at 924.01, no expense.
924.01. We paid it in every year without too many expenses. That's right. So yeah, if anybody cares to donate to the association, we will not spend your money. Otherwise, we won't spend it at all. The way things go. I do a couple little announcements. One is the county is making up new signs for the neighborhood association. I don't know if you see them along the road, those signs, but they're going to be a little more colorful now. We have some samples that we already brought in, and they're going to be voting on 3 of the favorites come toward the end of the year. So I want to take a look at preview some possibilities, and there'll be chances to vote online for your there. So they replace the signs. We'll get some more colorful versions on that. Other than that, we've got Mr. Kennison here with us. Good. Tell us a little about what's going on in our area. He's our liaison with the sheriff's office. So, welcome him. It's been a while since he's been able to join us. So it's just good to have him back.
Thanks. Happy to be here. Sorry for today. So it's been at least a year since I've been in one of these meetings, so I do apologize for that. Back today, I hope that I can make up for any time lost. I've been told that you guys want to know about general crime trends in the Salmon Creek area. What I have experienced most in this area is scams, and they're unfortunately scams that are targeting the elderly. Our most common scam that we're getting right now is an individual from the sheriff's office calling folks up. He's pretending to be a sergeant in the sheriff's office. They usually choose Sergeant Skidmore's name because he is our public information officer, and he's also one of the first options that comes up when you Google Deputy Sheriff Sergeant. So they see his name pop up and they decide to impersonate him. So usually it's him. Sometimes they'll choose somebody who's a former employee, but they will generally find a name of somebody who did used to be an employee. So when somebody does a Google search, it looks like it's a truthful scam. If you receive a call from anybody at the sheriff's office that says that you owe us money, it is a lie. We do not call people and tell them that they owe us money. Another call that we are getting, the term I've used is spoofing, but essentially it's folks that are using a voice over internet protocol to make a Google Voice account, so a phone number over their computer, and they're using that to call people. They can create any phone number that they want, so they can impersonate your bank's phone number. And when they call you, your caller ID will make it look as if your bank is calling you. They will tell people, hey, we've had a security issue with your bank account. We need you to withdraw money. Sometimes I've had one, unfortunately, up to $30,000. Somebody withdrew from their bank and took home. And in a very rare occasion, these folks are sending somebody to the house, impersonating a bank employee, and asking for that money and saying, oh, I'll go put it back in your bank for you. That doesn't happen. bank employees will not come to your house to pick up money. And if you are ever concerned that there's been a security issue at your bank, hang up the phone call that you're on, get online, find the appropriate phone number for the bank, and call them back. Don't just trust the individual who called you as bank employee. Now phone numbers are no longer significant. Yes, sir.
I'd suggest looking at your bank account and getting a number off of it rather than going online to get it.
That would work as well if you have that information
Because they can
available.
take the addresses sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be sure that the website that you're looking at is the official website for your banking institution. Use that number to call. Beyond that, those are the two most egregious things that we're having people regularly victimized in this general area. And everything else is at a normal pace. We aren't experiencing a greater spike in vice crimes, not a greater spike in stolen vehicles here. So I'm happy to report that most of that stuff is on an even keel on T5. I'm actually not aware of any, and tell me if you're aware of some, any drug houses within your neighborhood area any longer. So that's a big.
And people set up alongside the road with their RVs and trailers like they do over in Portland. Can they just pick just a road any place and just, well, here I am, and set up and stay there for just indefinite periods of time?
No, and yes. The answer is no. Legally, it's not okay. And you can absolutely call to complain about it. The issue for us is that tow trucks that can tow and storage facilities that will store RVs are few and far between. The sheriff's office has a contract with one tow agency. And I've spoken with them asking, how can I get these RVs out of the area? And they said, well, we really prefer if it's in the middle of the month because our storage facility has the most extra room in the middle of the month. They have auctions at the end of the month and they get new vehicles in at the beginning of the month. And so the middle of the month, their yard is mostly clear. And also it's really easy for us if you do it in the middle of the week. So if you tow an RV on Wednesday on the 15th of the month, you're fine. Any other day, they may not be able to store it for you. So we run into some difficulty, especially can't tow them over the weekends. We're trying to have us do it Monday through Friday. So we can get them out, but you need a little bit of patience, unfortunately, because it can take us a little while to be able to arrange the tow that's capable of getting in. Anybody else have questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
You know, I live behind the school, you know, the three schools are together. And so we're on that road a lot. Nobody obeys the 20 mile an hour speed limit. We used to have police there regularly. We don't anymore. I mean, it's really bad. It's so bad when the high school gets out that I go out of my way to avoid the high school. And that is their car they have. It's stranger than that.
And there's a lot of nice.
Yeah, there is.
Are you looking for a response from me?
Yeah.
So,
But we used to.
so my boss is in the back room, so, but I'm a blunt and honest person. We run into some difficulty sometimes. We have a lot of calls these days, and actually during the daytime, we've actually got 5 deputies working in what we call West Precinct. My beat is the 70. So that's basically everything from where we are now up to Kennison.
Wow.
So I understand what you're saying, absolutely. Those schools are in 71. The 71B is responsible for everything from the schools here, west of I-5, all the way down to the city limits of Vancouver. So it's a large geographic deed. Everybody has to prioritize the important calls, unfortunately. So it doesn't often leave a lot of time to do traffic enforcement at that 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon period where the schools are getting out. Our calls generally start taking up about 9 o'clock in the morning, and they start dropping off about 5. So that 2 to 3 period is kind of the spike or the top of the crest of calls coming into us. And we have to try to use our resources as appropriately as we can. That being said, traffic enforcement is a big deal for folks. And when we have the time to do it, we try, but it's sometimes difficult to find that time 2 to 3 cameras. So, but I hear what you're saying. I'll express to my coworkers that folks are frustrated about it and see if we can help.
To that, how that also sees school bus from being.
That would probably be a good call to the school.
I've also seen, I'm assuming kids driving down the wrong side, because they don't want to wait in line and so I go to the map, saying what they're doing.
You can ask.
But what I wanted to say is, it was across the road. That was the
Are
county.
they on the ground?
Yeah.
So those are usually traffic studies. They're trying to find out how many vehicles travel any given road and they'll throw them down. So actually, you know, and another thing came to mind as far as folks that you used to see in the school zones. We used to have a reserve deputy program, and reserve deputies was a favorite activity of theirs to do traffic enforcement in the school zones. We don't have reserve deputies. Our state has acted enough requirements for police officers. It would be impossible for anyone else doing this job on a volunteer basis. So we don't have that resource ourselves. Seeing
Were you on that raid 2 weeks ago on me?
Oh, yeah.
On
On a raid on
129th
you?
Street,
Where?
on 129th Street
Oh, so
on Tuesday.
was it during the daytime?
Yeah,
It was on the board.
about 9 o'clock in the morning.
I don't recall.
Every sheriff deputy in the county was there.
Might have been my.
I don't think there was a sheriff deputy in the county that was there.
Did you see one with one leg?
I mean, it was after me. But I'd like to know why, if it wasn't on that raid.
Why it wasn't on the raid?
What? No, why why they was attacking me.
I have no idea. Sorry, I don't know anything about that. So I wasn't on the call. I'm sure I could look it up for you if you wanted.
So she called, they said they had no record.
And they said they didn't do a report on it. I told on about the 15th last week.
I talked
And they still didn't. do
But
it.
every deputy in the county was there. I mean, there wasn't a deputy that wasn't, wasn't.
I believe you. I just don't know anything about the call. I'm sorry. It's probably a day off.
Well, it's scary as hell when you're an individual on your own property, standing on a little 5 acres, and you got cops lined up for almost 2 blocks. Like cars, just 2 abreast, with their light, and all these cops running at you. It's scary as hell. I'll tell you. I mean, they wanted to move my truck, and I'm almost scared of moving my hand from my pocket. And then you got 15 cops out there. I mean, you make a false move, let me get shot. I mean, I was really. I'm to tell you the truth. I was really actually scared. But I mean, I've lived here for 85 years. I'm 85 years old, and that I've never seen in my life.
I'm sorry that you experienced that. I don't know if I can do anything more than that to address it for you right now. But if you want to give me a call maybe tomorrow, I'll try to research what you're talking about and see if I can have some answers for you. I'll give you a card before I get out of here.
Are you working tomorrow, Drew?
Yes, sir. I am.
You can look at it on the computer.
Yeah. I'll have something to tell you. I just don't right now. I'm sorry.
What's the ratio of officers to the people in our county? And I know that 3 or 4 years ago was not good. So is that getting better and better as it goes along?
We are really trying to make it better and better. We have hired a significant number of people, which is good. Downside is that a number of people have also retired. There's a generation that's leaving the workforce right now. And so we're trying to replace them and get staffing back up. Staffing has generally remained about the same for most of my career. It's only within the last few years that our administration has changed that it's really started to increase dramatically. The issue there is that about half of our workforce has 2 or less years on the road right now. So we have a lot of police and a lot of more police coming, but also the brand new police officers are still learning the job. You learn the job for about the first 5 years of your career.
Do we have the same kind of ratio as maybe Skamania County or Powlett County? Are we,
I don't know.
what do you think it is? One is,
I'll address that in my.
Yeah, okay.
I'll address that.
I can tell you during the daytime,
I'll give you the exact numbers.
so we've got on my shift, we have 5 guys for West Breach, which is everything west of 50th Avenue, north of the city limits to Cowlitz. So I don't know how many tens of thousands of people live in that area, but we have usually 5 to address that. But these things.
I just wanted to say, we just finished the Citizens Police Academy for the Sheriff's Department and found it very informative with many of these questions that are being asked. So if like you really want to know a lot of what's going on, I would encourage you to check it in the back for people that are interested in that.
That's a great idea. It's a very good point. Yeah, Citizens Academy is awesome. Brandy's a couple of books. Sorry.
What is it?
What is the Citizens Academy?
Yeah.
It's on weekends. It's a
Wednesday nights,
Wednesday night class weekly that teaches people about the basics of law enforcement, not in order for you to become a volunteer necessarily, but just to understand kind of the ins and outs of what law enforcement might face on a given day. And the upside of it is it answers a lot of questions and just kind of shows law enforcement from the officer's point of view. Generally, that's not what you get to see. And yeah, it's
That's interesting. So where is it? Okay.
it's not a lost in yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was wondering about the security staff, these people that go over, that are checking people, you know, out.
Yeah.
And they leave over, checking. And I've seen a couple of kind of tense incidents there with showing.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what kind of authority do they have over people, and how does that relate to the deputies and what you can do?
Well, it's drastically different. They are security officers in general can affect what's commonly known as citizen arrest. Like they have the authority of the store to detain you if they can say that they believe that you're committing a crime. It'd be difficult to say that just because you didn't have a receipt that you were committing a crime. Usually, a loss prevention officer or a security officer is kind of required to see if you select the item from the shelf that you took and conceal the item amongst yourself or in your car, and then attempt to leave the item past the checkout stand without having to pay for it. So those guys are really just trying to scare people into not stealing. And by confronting folks without receipts leaving, they're letting everybody else that happens to be coming in during those times see, oh, they're going to check my receipt. It's not necessarily catching them anybody. And I can tell you, in the time that they've been doing that, I haven't received one call from the security guy at the front door alleging that somebody's stealing. So my assumption is that it's just a show. And sometimes they don't have the best people skills. And so there's, tense interactions. But if we believe that someone's committing a crime, we have a little bit more authority granted by the state that exceeds the citizen's arrest. Sir,
Do you guys have like the little radar trailers available?
we have one. We have one radar trailer. It's generally placed by our traffic detectives, and there are 3 of them, and they are tasked with investigating every fatality collision that occurs in the county. So the trailers have a force multiplier for them, but they don't always have the ability, depending on how many collisions that they're investigating at any point, to go run traffic by the trailer. That makes sense. The trailer just shows you how fast you're going. It doesn't do traffic enforcement in itself. It won't send you a ticket. So we have to have officers in the area that the trailer is at, and sometimes that's have a trailer position. It's always somewhere.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate that. We're gonna have a double duty here. That's okay.
I thought you had it on the clock.
Right?
He was talking about young bucks, right? We have a young group. Well, when he started off, I was the sergeant a long time ago. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And he's kind of right. When you have somebody new that, that needs a little more training. It takes honestly, about 5 to 6 years, 7 years to get that seasoning. And then, so I've known him a long time. Great guy. So I'm glad he can make it. I know he's tired, so if we don't mind, we can cut him loose. All right? All right.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. I think it's been a few months since I've been up here.
Yeah, and before you get started, because I know there'll be a lot of questions, Counselor Belcott wanted to just say hi. She's online really quick. Would that be all right? I don't mean to interrupt you. And I'm gonna have to, I don't have a screen, so I'm gonna have to hold up my computer, which I apologize for. So hang on a minute, and I'm gonna
It's money, so long.
pin this up here.
Sorry.
And just kind of try to hold up the laptop so they can see you, Counselor Belcott.
Yeah, sorry, Sheriff Horch. I have to get on to another meeting in less than 10 minutes, so I'll make it quick. People always seem to have the most amount of questions for law enforcement. They're always usually the star of the show. Me, not so much. So I just wanted to mention, I think a lot of people have heard in the last few days how one of our election ballot drop box was targeted yesterday, and they are currently drying out some of the recoverable ballots at this point and trying to identify those folks that need to go back and get their ballots printed so that they can hand them back in. Luckily, CTRAN had video footage of the car, and the FBI is working on identifying that. So I have been encouraging people, go into the elections office if you're able to and hand them in. I handed my ballots in on Friday physically at the elections office. It was very fast. They were busy, but it was fast and effective. So hope everybody has voted. Get down there when you have a chance. And then also I wanted to mention, in the last couple of weeks, the county council has been discussing a Clark County law and justice resolution, which we all unanimously signed. And that was related to the recent Proposition 4 that the city has currently on their ballot, which is to hire 80 law enforcement folks, to include a few admin people. I can't remember specifically how many admin people. Sheriff Horch could probably answer that question. I think it was like 4 out of the 80 FTEs. But we have talked about that on the council numerous times because we want to support our law enforcement, but the way that we're currently set up for the county, if Proposition 4 passes, it's going to heavily impact our county and our court system specifically, and CCS. So it'll just be a domino effect of issues that we just will not be able to sustain if Prop 4 goes through. So we've had a lot of discussion. There was a press release put out related to Prop 4 and how that will impact the county, because we wanted to make sure that our constituents are aware of what's happening and how this will impact all of us as taxpayers. So those were my 2 bits of news. Does anybody have any questions?
What is Prop 4?
It's a proposition on the city of Vancouver's.
City Vancouver,
Oh, okay.
that they tax increase for. I can explain that.
Thank you, Councilor Belcott.
Thank
you, Counselor.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
She's your representative out here. District 2,
County council.
County Council.
They
And
changed
she
the
is
law.
important. She's the one that votes on getting the sheriff's office money, gets resources that we talked about. So I wouldn't downplay that. Good evening. I want to be cognizant of time. Merrily, do you want me to go maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then take it? I know there's going to be some questions, but I left the stack of cards here. I do respond to emails. So send me an email. If you don't get your question answered, or if I don't know the answer, please email me and I'll get back with you. Or you can always get a hold of Merrily and she'll send me something. All right, I'm gonna go a little quick, but I heard some of the questions here that I was gonna cover anyways. Drew's like, he's like, I don't want to answer these, I want my boss to answer. So overall, Staffing has been a problem at the sheriff's office for the last 25 years. When I was hired on in 1989, we had X amount of deputies on at night. How many do you think we had last night? About the same. We had the population from about 150,000 unincorporated Clark County. Gary Lucas fought hard. I don't know if you remember him as sheriff. He was sheriff 24, 26 years for resources. We did not keep up with population. Chuck Atkins, sheriff for 8 years for me, fought, and I'm fighting right now. In fact, I say fight. I am advocating because we are at, you asked a good question here. This is a way to do a ratio. It's not necessarily the best way, but a lot of people see 0.56 deputies per 1,000 residents in unincorporated. So a half a deputy, basically a little bit more, per 1,000 residents. City of Vancouver, Proposition 4, they're asking for 80 more, are 1.3 officers per 1,000 within the city limits. It's more than double. Okay, so that is the way to gauge it. So when you see like New York City or Chicago, they'll always be very high. These cities just have a bigger tax base. They'll be at 2, 2.5, 3. Counties, we should, the state average, we're the lowest in the state and the county. It's embarrassing. We can't keep up with the calls. And we do get on traffic. Who asked the traffic question? We do address those, but we used to have 8 traffic units. You heard them, we had 3. We're building that back up. We need more people. We need more resources. And there is an effect that goes down stream when you add more people and more people go to jail, more resources, more prosecutors. There are ways to work through that, but they're talking about if the city passes. I don't know. My opinion is I think it's 50-50. It's a pretty high ask they're asking. And I have my opinions on why they're asking for it, but I have asked the county council, I've made it public on all the July meetings, and we just talked about it last week. We asked for 40 deputies. Don't quote me on this next number, 12 support staff positions. We need them desperately. We cannot keep up. By the way, who asked the traffic question by Skyview? I worked a couple weeks ago, and then right before school got out, I went up there to work radar in my work car. When we do hear areas like this, we do try to go work them. The thing about working traffic enforcement and writing tickets and stopping people, it brings it down for a little bit and then it goes right back up. So it's not a permanent solution. Or if you have one person who's doing it over and over, usually that'll end that. So again, we're getting our staffing back up, but it's taken a long time. We took a big hit 3-4 years ago. Big hit. We graduated 8 today from the academy. I just swore them in. That's the most we've ever graduated from one academy class. We are on the track. We are getting there, but we're limited on how many our staffing are over allotted to have, and we need to increase that. So we want to get our traffic cleaned up. I just ordered 2 motorcycles. Motorcycles are for traffic enforcement only. They came in, they're all outfitted, but I need riders on, right? So we're getting the guys trained. For our staffing, you'll see more of that. State Patrol has 6 motors. If you've been on I-5, you better slow down. They worked that hill at 139. So my wife almost got dinged the other day. But again, we work with the road, public works. We work with the schools too. We have a school resource officer back in Prairie High School. We used to have 5 staffing. Next year, I hope we 1 or 2 more. It makes a difference. They'll go out and work those as well. So we do take these complaints. We get traffic is usually the number 1 complaint that we hear about, and we try to get on this as best we can. So real quick, staffing is our number 1 issue right now. I need the public's help. I need you guys to, you heard one of them there, your representative right here, Michelle Belcott, get a hold of her, email her, or call her and say, the sheriff's office talked about it. I go to probably 75% of all neighborhood associated, Maryland's doing something else, but I love being out here. I listen to the problems we have, the deputies, the new laws that have come into effect in the last few years. It takes more deputies per call than I've ever seen before because of the de-escalation, all the different things. And people, I don't know how to say it nicely, but more drugs and the mental health issues, it's just gone through the roof. And it's officer safety issue. So we need help. We're also going to be looking for, trying to find new facilities. I know Barry Kimsey, Terry thought I was kicking them out off this floor. I don't think that's happening, but the sheriff's office doesn't really have a home. We're gonna have to be forced to move here in a year and a half. We're below the jail right now. They're trying to expand that. We're in 7 different locations right now. We need a sheriff's office out in the unincorporated Clark County that the community can go to, that we can have all our people under one roof, and we're working towards that as well. I need help with that as well. I think this it's not good to blame when you're trying to get something done because it doesn't do any good. It's not this current county council's fault. This has been kind of taken away years and years and years and years, but now it's still a problem. We need help with staffing, and we need a facility that we can attract deputies that want to work here, and also the community. So those are the two main things we're working on. We're getting people through the academy. Our local academy just graduated 8 today. I'm going kind of quick here, but I'll take questions. The ballot boxes, you guys seen the news? 2 in Vancouver. I'll just talk to him real quick. I know our auditor's here. He's going to talk. He and I talked yesterday. The FBI is working that case. The 2 were, one was at Fisher's Landing and one was downtown, and then there was one in Portland. And there are suspects, vehicles. I won't say they have a suspect yet, but they believe they're all related. But I just talked to the FBI today, and they are actively working on it. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are about the federal government or FBI, but when they get onto something, they don't let up. So they're going on full force. And we're trying to we pretty close. I don't want to steal his thunder, but having observers 24 hours a day for the next week. We've already started this morning on them. Is that right, Greg? And we're trying to just observe. So if we see somebody, they can call 911. We don't have deputies to put on each one. We don't have that staffing, but hired private security because it's very important. So they are on it. My guess is we will find these people. But Michelle Belcott's right. If something happened with your ballot, you need to go down, and he can kind of explain that process. I read some people went down yesterday. It was pretty smooth. They got a new ballot. It wasn't hard. It's unfortunate that it's happening, but be cognizant that if you pull up, and you see somebody shady just standing there, and you just pull around. It's happened usually at 4 to 5 a.m. Just to kind of let you know if you didn't know that. Let's see. For a couple more things. I usually get most of the stuff from questions that I've heard from already. We talked about the ratio of deputies. And I've made the pitch over and over to our current county council. They're debating in the next week or 2 what to do with that. But we can't sustain what we're doing with the deputies we have. Our number one priority when people talk about traffic or they want certain services is 911 calls. That deputy in the patrol car is our number one bread and butter. We have to respond to 911 calls to keep you safe. Everything else is all important. Our major crimes unit, our SWAT teams, all those things, school resource officers, but have to prioritize sometimes. Our staffing, you heard, it is coming back up. 8 graduated today. I'll just tell you the odds. We're going to lose 2 or 3 of those within 6 months. Anybody want to know why? You want to take a stab at it? Can't make it in the car. It's like an athlete. You put them in the big game in the NFL, and they were good in college. You know, we've seen real great players before. You're not a football fan, any sport, and then they get to the pros, and it doesn't work out. We don't know until we get them in the car, and they're doing 5 things at once, and then we see how they can do it. I know we train them, and we try to do those mock scenes till it's real life. You don't know. So the averages will lose 2 or 3 of those. So now we're still behind again. So we're constantly trying to hire. We have 12 more ready to go in December, which is great. So the positive news is I've never seen this many applied before in the last few years. We had months where nobody was applying. That's awful, right? So just kind of let you know where we're at, and we're getting some real good people. So let's do the questions. All right, go ahead.
So how will Proposition 4, if it passes, affect the county?
Okay, so it's 7:40. Proposition 4 was City of Vancouver, so only the state. It's a pretty big increase. They asked for a whole package deal, 80 officers, but some of them won't make arrests. They said they're just going to work in certain areas. Or heard that before, but traffic cameras. They put a whole bunch of stuff in there, and it's a big ask. The reason how it affects us, and I'll give a real basic one, is if you add more police officers, you'll probably have more arrests, more bookings in the jail. They're already at capacity right now. The court system, everything down to the clerk's office. I don't know if the assessor's office is affected much, but that's how the downstream effects are. How it affects the sheriff's office is, well, basically the county council is debating, well, should we cover, if this proposition passes, are we just gonna cover these extra costs and we need the money of that and leave the sheriff's office over here with no staffing and let the city of Vancouver keep growing? That's what they're debating on, whether to include us in the staffing issue, or not. So it would affect us money wise. Now, when you set a proposition, it's asking the people if they want a tax increase, right? Property taxes. Let's just, I'll make no mistake, if the county council puts one out there, it'll come out to the county for a property tax. And the reason why it'd be harder to pass, if Proposition 4 passed and they asked for one, because it goes to both, correct me if I'm wrong, it goes to both county and city residents. And city residents are gonna go, I just voted for one, it increased it this much. Why would I go for something that affects just the county? They may not see it that way. So that's the issue. There should have been, and if it doesn't pass, I believe there'll be better collaboration. There was not very good collaboration between the two, county and city. I'm not gonna put one or the other, but this is something that needs to get worked out together and talk about all our needs. The jail is a main focus point in Park County. You can have 10,000 officers. It doesn't mean a thing if you can't put somebody somewhere, right?
Right.
It doesn't mean a thing if you don't have the prosecutors. So it all funnels down. You have to grow it kind of equally, even though it's the city of Vancouver, there's no magic wall, except RVs. So let's go to that. You want to know where the city line is versus the county? See where all the RVs are lined up on the, because we have a county ordinance. They passed it 6-7 years ago. And you will see some RVs or semis, but it's a very short time. I disagree with them a little bit. We do have a tow, Michelle Belcott working on the contract. We do tow. Usually when you get in the first warning, say you're gonna get a $50 ticket, they're gone. That's what we do. You can park your RV on the street for 10 days or 14 days if you get a permit. Like if you have a company come in from the Midwest, they want to park their RV, the county, it's a $10 permit. So you can legally park it there, but we all can tell which one is a regular RV. So don't be afraid to call. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 calls like that, but the county council voted on the city has it. They have not voted that way, and I don't think they're going to. So that's how you can tell between the city and the county line. Very distinct in Minnehaha and St. John's, if you didn't know. So just look if you're there. So I kind of led into the RV question. We do tow, it just takes a little bit of time sometimes. And it costs money. I don't know if you know this, the contract, you guys are paying for it. These people aren't paying the bill. A tow could be $3,000 to $5,000 to get rid of one of those because they have to get rid of all the hazardous materials. I'm sorry?
It's better if they just move them.
It would be, yes, we do ask them to move. We just don't go tow right away. That wouldn't be right.
If we see them set up, can we call the sheriff's office again? We can.
311.
Winnebago is setting up at the corner of so-and-so, and then you come out and talk to the guy, right?
That's how it works. You go 311 for non-emergency. You can call the sheriff's office directly and we'll route it to the West Precinct. I trying to remember that number offhand, but you can also use my number on there. And then, yeah, we go out within a day or two and knock. We also have our sheriff's auxiliary that goes and tags abandoned vehicles as well. So that's more on cars. You got a car in the street, broken windows. We go out and tag it, and within 2 or 3 days it's towed. So we had that as well. Citizens Academy came up. We ran 2 this year. It's 6 weeks long. It's for people. I walked in and said, I had a guy say to me, I've always hated cops. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I signed up. I don't mind that. He wanted, at the end, he's like, wow, I opened my mind up a bit. I saw something. Doesn't mean agree with everything, but we have a whole gamut of people who want to just learn about not just the sheriff's office, but the court system, the jail. If you want to get tased, no. But we show you get to shoot all the guns. You go to the range day. You can have a day there. You have the whole ecosystem of law and justice come in and talk. And you guys just went?
Yes.
Yeah, I can even talk a couple times, didn't I?
Yeah, we got our get out of jail free coin from you.
I don't know if that's true. But it's just a great way to meet people. I love that. We usually only run 1 a year, and I asked them to run 2. It's been so popular. So you can sign up, grab my card. I'm going to ask a lot of emails tomorrow. Maybe give me 4 days to answer. But my number one goal, I became sheriff, was to make sure we had that community connection. We may not always agree, but I'll always be out there and I'm listening. And if I'm listening and 9 out of 10 people are telling me something, then maybe I'm going to, okay, need to change something here. But I try to make it everywhere. I'm accessible. And I tell our people that to take care of the citizens. I take care of our employees, and my expectation is they'll take care of the citizens. That's the model that we use. And I give our deputies a lot of autonomy. I learned that we let them make decisions. And sometimes they make the wrong one, but we correct it, but we want them to be thinkers out there and giving customer service. Other agencies do not do that. They have the chain of command that goes up and it goes down and it's like, so that is the difference. If you ask me, what makes our sheriff's office special is we empower our people. So any other questions? But
Yeah, I was recently reading about a dispute, well, a decision by the county not to participate with the city of Vancouver in the homeless center over at the former Nadanoff. And they mentioned something in there about how that's difficult, for the deputies here, in the sheriff's office, because what do you guys do with homeless? You don't have a shelter to take them to. Or do you?
these are good questions. They're a little bit complicated. When you read the paper, it's not necessarily all the what's happening. It's just a proof fact. The county mental health sales tax. I'm not sure how much we collect from it each year, but I think they wanted 6 million out of the county, and the county said no, we want to use it for other things. And the city said, well, we're still going to build it. I guess you could have said that the county walked into the city building and said, we want $6 million out of one of your funds with the city. Just give it. I don't know. I think they can collaborate on some things. I don't think they are right now. I wish they would. We're gonna have some new county councilors here in a month. No, a week. Not a month. A week, and then sitting and then getting people to work on these problems. Our homeless or transient problem in unincorporated Clark County doesn't compare. Now, we still have some issues and we work on it. There is a camping ban ordinance, and we have actually cited people in and moved them along and taking care of those problems. The city of Vancouver, if you've been down Milton, I can name you the street and you can see what it looks like. That's not humane. It shouldn't be done that way. It's my opinion. We have a different philosophy in the city of Vancouver and how they run things. Doesn't mean I don't have compassion or our deputies don't. But law enforcement, and here's how I'll make this clear. Law enforcement's been put at the tip of the spear for this homeless and mental health issues. Now, we should be working with groups. We're hired, we're kind of doing one thing. When a pilot flies a plane, he's not doing the baggage, he's not serving the trains, he's not doing the maintenance. Pilot concentrates on taking off, landing safely. That's what law enforcement does. There are law enforcement agencies that have so many staff that they want to go into those areas. A sworn officer who should be doing other things, that's their choice. But we don't have those resources. And if you have a specific problem in the county, we get on it pretty quick. I don't know if somebody has it here, but you won't see it. Again, you can almost see a line difference between city and county philosophy, let's say it that way. We do have vouchers for people, especially when it's cold out. We don't leave people hanging. We have blankets, we have socks. We do have compassion, but we're not the end all, unfortunately, and we can't keep up. The city of Vancouver has a special heart team that they take sworn officers off the streets and they go around to the homeless camps and tents and ask people if they want help, but they don't have any authority to move them along. So that's a very short answer to a complex problem. It's been happening a while, but again, well, I'll just say good news. Open House Ministries just opened up. If you didn't know, the new apartment complex, which is they're a great resource for people and families and whatnot. But that is a model of how things should be done. If you haven't been down there, they're great. Open House Ministries.
We're gonna have to.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Please email me, but give me a couple days. We're a little bit busy with some of this, the election. Just election security and what we're doing. And we don't want what happened 3-4 years ago with some of the rioting. So we are prepared. We have a plan. Our riot team, City of Vancouver, is prepared as well. So we don't have any sustained specific threat yet, but you never know. Things can change in an hour or two. We'll be ready as well. So I just want to let you guys know that. All right.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Perfect up there. Thank you. I'll stick around for a little bit.
The real elections, we're gonna have our own elections.
Thanks, Sheriff.
It's time for our annual elections this year. And again, we're always looking for volunteers, people that like to help us out. And mainly coming up with topics and speakers for each of these meetings. We have 2 meetings a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. So the officers and the members of the board donate a couple of nights a year to participate in the board meeting and then the general meeting as well. So if you're interested in that, if you like this little group, you think it's a great idea, please look to volunteer. So right now, we're gonna have our elections. We have elections every year, and we have elections for each of the officers, and then also for representatives. Our area, our region is divided up into 5 different regions. We have 5 different representatives from the region. You do not have to live in the region with which you represent. So if you're interested in joining, we can appoint you to whatever region is open, and you're welcome to come help us out and join us in that. According to bylaws, we elect the people in the even numbered regions one year and the odd number another. So we're doing the odd number this year. So the current people are on the list. I just want to mention that Lindsay George that had to resign as a few weeks ago. She's got some family issues going on, so if you vote for her, she's probably not going to make it. But everybody else is running again. Their name is on there. If you have anybody, I'm going to ask for any if you have a write-in candidate, please feel free to put them on there if you'd like to like anybody. But I think I'm supposed to ask for nominations from the floor too. Want to nominate anybody to any of those offices? For any nominations? Any nominations? Any nomination? Going, gone. So feel free to fill those out for the rest of the meeting and turn them in, and then you can pass them to this time. We'll collect them all and count them up and give you a quote by the end of the meeting. I believe, right?
And,
This side.
and Ed, just so that we address the folks online, I don't think you've done anything on the bylaws to include online voting as part of elections. People have to come
Right.
to the meeting. So, so we aren't forgetting those of you that are online. If there's just a written ballot that's here at the facility to vote.
I'm new. Is Dale or Fiona or James here?
Yes, that's right. I'm Ed. This is Dale.
Hi, Dale. I'm Fiona.
Fiona. And Jim. They were sorry for my answer report.
Dale. Yes, that's me. I'm Dale. Oh, yeah. I'm a busy gal. And yeah.
Matt, did not make it tonight.
Pretty fun to just perhaps,
Good question. Bishop Matts, are they online?
They would be online, I think, in your long version of the bylaws that's online on the website.
So you can see what again, you do not have to live in the area. You're interested, you can appoint you to. Anybody interested in helping out? You're looking. We meet twice a year. We have a board meeting, 2 weeks ahead of time, come up with topics. Decide to do that, and then we start chairs. Yes, that's our purpose for a group. That's it. The resource to educate and also to communicate with the family. So things that are happening that you want questions about, or you have specific need about, you can find you through to the family and to the right. Please help out in this class. Traffic control, whatever. Welcome.
you guys do the rest of the year? You meet 2 times a year, so what do you do the rest of the time?
That's pretty much it. So it's very low key, low commitment, but a lot of fun. All right, well, with that, our guest speaker tonight, Mr. Kimsey, going to talk about elections and what's happening in the county. And also, we do a little Q&A. Hopefully, we'll have time for that.
Yeah, which line do you have?
Flowers, trail. Well, good evening, Greg Kimsey, Clark County Auditor. I just want to thank you for being an involved citizen. It's really heartwarming to see people who take their time to become more knowledgeable about their community. And so I really want to say thank you to each of you for taking the time to come out and learn more about what's going on in your community. I won't go through the whole tour. The question that I always get, which is, what does the county auditor do? I'll get right to the thing that you guys really think about the county auditor, which is we register people to vote, conduct all public elections. You want to know more about what the county auditor does? I'm happy to stick around afterwards. I'll give you the whole description of what we do. It's a lot broader than just conducting elections and registering people to vote. Really, the message I'd ask you to leave with tonight is you should have extremely high confidence in the integrity of the election administration process here in Clark County. When election results are issued by the elections office, it does accurately reflect the collective decision of the voters who chose to participate in that election. Let me talk a little bit about why I believe you should have that very high level of confidence. And I'll try to keep it succinct, but I can go into as much detail as you want. But I'm going to get just kind of to the heart of it. First, the voting process, election administration process, voter registration process is conducted entirely under the restrictions, requirements of state and federal law. I'm what's referred to as a ministerial office. I don't have a policymaking office, policymaking responsibility or authority. My oath is to follow the Constitution and the laws of the state of Washington and of the United States of America. But the laws that we operate under are very, very comprehensive. In addition, I want to make sure to mention that the most important element of the integrity and the accuracy of the election process depends on the people who are administering elections. All the equipment and all the chain of custody protocols and all the security procedures you have in place are not as important as the people who are actually doing the work. And I'm here to say to you, and I've been doing this now, I'm now my 26 years as Clark County Auditor. Without a fail, every single election administrator I have met personally understands the importance of the work that we do. Every election administrator I know understands that elections is part of the foundation of our democratic system. Every election administrator I know understands the mission of our office and of their office. So that's really the most important element in the elections process for the people who are administering elections. But then we have all sorts of other stuff that we rely on. And the biggest thing we rely on is the voting system that we are programming the election on, creating the ballots, and then when those voter ballots are returned to us, processing those ballots, getting to election results. So that equipment, that voting system is, we use a voting system that's been certified by the federal government. It's been certified by the state government. And then before every election, we do what's called a hash check comparison test to ensure the software and the equipment that we have in our office is exactly the same as the software that's certified at the federal and state level. Software is nothing but zeros and ones, right? So this test, zeros and ones here, zeros and ones here, are they the same? Good to go. That all of that voting system, part of our software, None of it has any connection to the internet. None of it has any wireless communication capability. It is all kept secure in a room that has a magnetic security box on it that tracks who comes in, who goes out. Required by law to always have at least 2 people in that room. Actually, the computer we get preliminary election results out of, and then finally certified election results out of, that is in a secured room, in a secured closet, a control tag on it, in a secured room, in a locked office, in a locked building with security systems on all those points. And then, I'll probably open up the questions here pretty soon, but I want to also make the point that the best test of the integrity and the accuracy of election administration process is a manual recount. Now, you might have heard some suggestions that all ballots be counted by hand, and that's the best way to get the accuracy of the process. So, and I'm happy to talk why I don't believe that's true, but because that's not true, you can then ask, well, Greg, why would you think a manual recount is the best test of the process? And the difference is when you do a manual recount, you have the results from the system, then you're counting the ballots and comparing that manual count against the system. And it is also true, every time you do a manual recount, there'll be a variance between the hand count and the system count. It's also, for every recount we've had in Clark County, going back to the early 80s, every recount has affirmed the original results and has demonstrated that the voting system hardware and software performs with 100% accuracy. What's also true is that manual recounts illustrate that while the system hardware and software is 100% accurate, humans do make mistakes. And so to illustrate that, we just completed the second largest manual recount in the history of our state with the Commissioner of Public Lands race. In Clark County, we had about 137,000 ballots that we did a manual recount on for that race. We had a total of a variance of 7. 7 votes were identified different in the recount than from the machine process. And those 7 votes that were changed were the result of humans making mistakes. And that happens in every recount. But again, with 137,000, 7 is a reasonable margin of error operating. So, not sure how much time I got here, but maybe I'll just go ahead and open up the question. I bet there's a question or 2 out there, so I'm happy to.
The people online are having a hard time hearing you for some reason, so I don't know if these microphones work or.
Yeah, turn it on.
What's your question, sir?
Yeah, how do you
voter roll audits? How do we audit the voter rolls? So, as I said, the auditor is a ministerial officer, not qualification officer. We don't have investigative authority. We are bound by federal and state law.
I'm sorry to change you to a microphone, but they're saying they can't hear very well. So we're gonna pump it up a
Can you
little
hear me
bit.
back there? Okay. I'm trying to project, but sorry if I'm not projecting very well.
Does that help online? Can you let me know if that helped?
So the voter registration process, like every aspect of the election administration process, is conducted under a very comprehensive set of federal and state laws. So when we register people to vote, it's pursuant to what the requirements are under federal and state law. And so that is that's the world we operate in. When someone submits a voter registration form, they sign that oath that says they are qualified, they meet all the qualifications to be registered to vote. We process that voter registration form based on the information on that form itself. Now, what's also true is that we have a process in the state of Washington where people who have evidence that a person is not properly registered to vote can challenge that person's voter registration. And that does happen. It's happened with some frequency over the past couple of years. So you might call that, I would call that, an effective audit of the voter registration, database. Yeah, go ahead.
But on that registration, they stop sign on the registration form that they're a citizen of the US. That they present no proof of that.
So the observation is that when you register to vote in the state of Washington, you sign an oath on the registration form that says you are a U.S. citizen, but you're not required to provide any proof that you are a U.S. citizen. That's absolutely true. There is federal law that, well, I'll just do my whole thing about non-citizen voting and registered vote in the state of Washington. So as I said, when people register to vote, we are required to accept that registration on the information provided on the four corners of the document. I would love to be able to tell you that every person registered to vote in the state of Washington and Clark County is a U.S. citizen. I cannot do that. I cannot do that because every year, maybe a relatively small number of people do come into our office and say, I'm a non-citizen, I'm registered to vote, please cancel me. And if they have not voted, we'll do that, and life goes on. If they're a non-citizen, they come in and say, I'm a non-citizen, I'm registered to vote, and we can see that they have voted, then Sheriff Horch gets evidence provided from us to his office, and we ask them to investigate that. In the state of Washington, unlike other states, specifically the state of Oregon, there's a federal law that says government agencies are required to make the opportunity available to people to register to vote when they come into the government agency. So you might have heard of this referred to as the Motor Voter Act. In the state of Washington, non-citizens can obtain a driver's license. There's no, in Oregon, there are two different types of driver's licenses, one for non-citizens and one for citizens. In this state, there's only the one type of driver's license, although there's also real ID, CDLs, but we're talking about just kind of the normal driver's license. And so, and the Department of Licensing is, they instruct their clerks to ask applicants for driver's licenses, are you a U.S. citizen? And if, and only if, the person responds by saying, yes, I am.
Oh, goodness.
They are then asked, do you want to register to vote? So that's what's set forth in state law. That's what the Department of Licensing staff is instructed to do. And as I just explained, that doesn't always happen. As I guess, as I said a little earlier, humans make mistakes. The other part of that is what I would say is, well, one, again, if someone has evidence that the person's not properly registered to vote, it's their obligation to file a voter registration challenge, provide that evidence to law enforcement, to elections officials. I would also offer up, I've yet to see any evidence that there are large numbers of non-citizens registered to vote in the state of Washington. Yeah.
Do I use my phone?
I'm sorry?
Do I use my
There's one right
phone?
behind you.
I'll repeat your question. Go ahead.
Okay. In Clark County, we have the Clark County Republicans, and we have something called the Election Integrity Team. Can you tell us how what the Election Integrity Team does? What do they do? And how do you treat them? And what's their function for protection for us, the voters?
Yeah, I do believe there is an organization called the Election Integrity Team. I'm not part of that.
You've never met them, or you don't know who they are?
I have met people who have told me they're members of the Election Integrity Team. All right.
Oh, please go ahead. What's their function, and what are they there for?
Yeah, it's not clear to me. It's not clear to me what the function or purpose of the Election Integrity Team.
Okay, the name Election Integrity Team. What might that be for?
Seems like you have the answer to the question. So go ahead.
Tell us.
Yeah, please.
Tell us.
Well, they are to make sure that the elections have integrity.
They do.
In what way?
In all ways. I mean, there's just so many ways. Dead people on the voters roll, 10 ballots going to a bowling alley. What about that?
Okay, the Washington State voter registration system, which is contained in a system called VOTWA, administered by the Secretary of State's office, but then also the data is entered and controlled by each individual county. The VOTWA system receives information about deceased voters from Department of Health, Social Security. And so when it receives information about deceased voters, that voter's voter registration status is canceled. If you or anyone else knows of a deceased voter who is still an active registered voter, please contact the elections office and we will investigate that and cancel that voter. I'm not aware of anything other than very isolated incidents of people who have deceased who have received a ballot. Your comment about 10 ballots mailed to a bowling alley. It is possible.
Or a vacant building.
Or a vacant building. So when as I said, when someone registers a vote, we process that on the basis of information in that form. Now, if we identify it as a commercial building, we will inquire as to whether or not that is their residence, and if it's not the residence, we'll ask what the residence is. But what we also see is that people who have non-traditional residences, we'll ask them where they sleep at night. So if there are people who are sleeping at night at the bowling alley or behind the bowling alley, they may well be registered vote at that bowling alley. They may be getting their ballots mailed to that bowling alley. So that's that situation.
The election integrity team was recently asked when they go in to watch the voting to get rid of their pens and paper. Why did you do that?
There is a prohibition against anyone recording personal information about voters as we're processing ballots. So to ensure that no personal information is recorded by observers in the ballot processing area, we don't allow observers representing the legal and voters and two major political parties to have pens, recording devices of that sort.
Got a question in the back? Isn't it true, Auditor Kimsey, that Republicans with Democrats already got official observers at elections?
Well, yeah, everyone knows Peter Van Norbeck, County Assessor. Hey, Peter, thanks for being here. Yeah, part of the accountability or transparency in the election administration process is that the entire time ballots are being processed for an election, and every area where ballots are being processed are available for observation by people who have gone through the elections observer training class. And so, and there are three organizations provided with certified election observers who are able to observe the entire ballot processing, including retrieval of ballots from the post office and retrieval of ballots from ballot drop boxes. Yeah, we have observers are a very important part of the process. So we very much appreciate the observers. They are the only people in the entire election administration process who are volunteers. Everyone else is an employee. Yeah.
You want to address the collection of the ballot through the unmanned drop box system, so that the chain of custody is maintained.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
You explain how the ballots are recovered from the unmanned drop boxes.
Yeah.
So that the chain of custody is maintained.
Yeah, how are ballots retrieved from the ballot drop boxes? So you might know we have 23 ballot drop boxes in the county. Those are made available to voters beginning 18 days before the election. Ballots are retrieved from those ballot drop boxes on a regular basis. When those ballots are retrieved, they're retrieved by 2 county employees who have taken an oath. And then the entire process is documented as they go to the ballot drop box, unlock that drop box, break the security seal. It has a serial number on the security seal, and then place those ballots into a secure transportation carrier, again, it's a security seal, and then transported back to the elections office where, again, they are kept in a secure area. That's how that works. And I would say the beginning schedule of those people who are those employees who are retrieving ballots is made available to those 3 organizations, 2 major political parties, and the League of New Voters. They are given the opportunity, they're invited, we give them that schedule so they have the ability to observe that entire ballot retrieval process.
How much of it?
Ballots are retrieved from ballot drop boxes on a regular basis. It really depends on what election we're in and where we are in the election period. So, for example, for this general election, this presidential general election, we have been retrieving ballots every day, once a day, every day, except for Sunday, unfortunately, this time. And then on Monday and Tuesday of election week, we will go to majority of the ballot drop boxes 3 and maybe even 4 times on that day. That's it. Yes, ma'am.
You implied that you pick up the ballots at the office or not removing?
Yeah, we go, our employees go to Cable's post office and retrieve those ballots and bring them back to the elections office.
This whole concept of the drop boxes is new to me. I don't understand why we just don't mail them.
Well, the easiest one of the answers is state law requires us to have 1 ballot drop box for every 15,000 registered voters, and 1 in each city or town, and 1 in each census designated area. We continue to recommend voters use ballot drop boxes rather than the post office. The post office does a fine job, but they're not perfect. I have a friend of mine who lives right over here, spoke to another individual today, who have still, as of today, have not even received their ballot. It was mailed to them 2.5 weeks ago. For every election, we'll certify the election, and then after certification, we'll receive ballots from voters that were postmarked prior to election day. So post office does a great job. They process millions and millions of pieces of documents through the important distribution center, but it's not perfect. Before Sunday, and I still would urge you to have a high level of confidence in the ballot drop box process. But if you put your ballot in a ballot drop box, you could have 100% confidence it will be retrieved and delivered to the elections office. So let me speak a little bit about the incident that occurred on Sunday and why I continue to urge people to use a ballot drop box. Excuse me. We are, so there's a couple of things. The sheriff spoke a little bit about one element. The sheriff's office, law enforcement throughout the sheriff's office and law enforcement throughout the county has committed to providing enhanced or a greater level of presence at the ballot drop boxes throughout the county. So much for that. But Lord. So greater increased presence by law enforcement at the ballot drop boxes. They're not going to have a uniformed officer there full time, but they will be driving by more frequently. We also are changing our ballot retrieval schedule so that we are now retrieving ballots in the early evening and encouraging voters to deposit their ballot at 5:30, no later than 5:30 each day. Voters who deposit their ballots before 5:30 each day, those ballots will be delivered to the elections office that same day. So that's law enforcement changing the schedule. Perhaps the most significant change we're making is that, again, the sheriff alluded to this, beginning this afternoon today, we have a person, a ballot drop box observer person, employee, at each ballot drop box, 24 hours a day from this afternoon through election night. And their single task, their single role is to call 911 if they believe they're seeing something suspicious. They are not there to interfere with voters. They're not there to be confrontational with any voters. Their only task is to call 911 if they think they see something suspicious. Voters, of course, continue to have options available to them. They can bring their ballot to the elections office and deposit in one of the 2 ballot drop boxes in the elections office building. You can use the post office service. Be sure if you take it to a post office, really right now even, I would urge you to take it inside and get it postmarked by a clerk. So that's, in our state, that's the key. We can receive the ballot up until day before certification, but has to have that postmark on there. More questions about ballot drop boxes? In the back.
I just have a question to take that on, through Facebook, but it did say that you could go on to the vote, I just pulled it up, the vote. It says voter.vote, WA.gov, and go on and enter your information to see if your ballot is received.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, there are a couple of suggestions I have for you. I have several, but first, yeah, I really urge you to check the status of your ballot. You can, as you said, through votewa.gov online, you can see the date the ballot was mailed to you. If you return the ballot to the elections office, you see the date the elections office received the ballot. You can see whether the ballot was accepted for processing, or if it was not accepted, was challenged because of a signature issue. So I really encourage you. You can do that online at votewa.gov, or you can also just call or email the elections office. We're happy to tell you that information as well.
So that is a legitimate thing that would have said that.
Absolutely. Yeah, votewa.gov is a fantastic resource for voters. I really urge you to take advantage of that. A good feature there is you can sign up for text messages as well. They've made it much easier to sign up for that service, so I encourage that as well. I'd also like to encourage you to vote your ballot shortly after you receive your ballot, because if there is an issue with your ballot, for example, your signature doesn't match and the ballot is challenged, it's not put forward for processing. If you vote that ballot early, it gives you more time to cure that signature issue. And also, another impact of that, the more ballots we receive early, the more ballots we're going to have in preliminary election results election night. And while I'm standing up here, let me also urge you, if you remember one thing from this evening, is that if you receive a ballot at your residence for someone who doesn't live there, please contact the elections office. Please put that ballot back to the post office after writing "does not live here," return to sender, something on there that we just give it back to the post office and they'll send it back to us. We will then change that voter status to inactive. We'll try to communicate with that voter, but they will become inactive. In those 2 federal elections, they'll become canceled. It's not that uncommon for people to have someone living at their home, student, a child, friend. They lived at your home, they registered to vote, they moved to California, remarkably, it wasn't the first thing in their mind to contact the elections office and say they moved. But when you get that ballot, if you give it back to the post office, it will come to us and we'll change their status to inactive. So if there's one thing you can remember from that tonight, that'd be great. Other questions? Yes, in the back.
Greetings. John Anderson's my name. PCO 46. Contrary to what Auditor Kimsey. We can't hear you. Contrary to what you've heard Auditor Kimsey share about how well the election system is secured, there are quite a number of us in Clark County who disagree because we've been doing homework and we've been studying and we've been observing. So I don't want to take and dominate this meeting. I'm not a member of your team, your group. I live in Hazelville, not up here. To alert you to the fact that the election system 100% vote by mail. I can't hear you. Second. 100% vote by mail, by definition of election experts, is a broken chain of custody. That's where you start. Then you start to peel the onion, which we've done for about 4 years. And Greg, I know that you are aware of election integrity team because we met with you for about 2 years. And you were given our concern. Many of those concerns still exist. And they came to a culmination in this ballot box that we bombed. There's no security cameras on any of the boxes. We brought that to your attention years ago. So rather than go into a whole list of the issues that we see in our election system here in Washington State, which we call it a sieve, there's that many holes.
So what is your question?
Yeah, right.
What are you doing to help
Okay,
take care of all these?
I will gladly leave the list of questions with your president so he can review them and share them with you. And you can draw your own conclusions after you read them and look at them and understand it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about these questions.
But what was your initial question? Because you raised your hand.
The initial question is, all is well. That's what we're hearing tonight. The question is, how can that be in light of what we just experienced? A bomb ballot box.
So I
with
still,
that-
I still didn't hear a question, but I will take the opportunity to respond. What I hope I communicated to you is that you should have a very high level of confidence in the integrity of the election administration process and that the election results accurately reflect the collective decisions by voters. What I'm also happy to tell you is there's no such thing as a perfect election. We have humans who are voters and we have humans who are administering elections. So I just would share that with you as well. So other questions? Yeah.
One, Daryl, when I read about election integrity, they talked about algorithms and the software which implies things are manipulated, and I don't understand why they just don't count the votes. What was the purpose of having an algorithm?
So the question is, what is the purpose of algorithms? So I don't know, maybe someone smarter than me can define what an algorithm is, but what I can tell you is that the software that we use to process ballots, to tabulate votes, is software that's been certified by the federal government and the state government. I can tell you that when we hand count results of ballots, we compare that to the results out of the system that's created, that's the result of using that certified software, that those results are almost exactly the same. Again, 137,000 ballots, 137,000 votes for one race, variance of 7 votes. Each of those 7 votes can be definitively identified as a human error, not a voting system error. every ballot that's, processed in the elections office goes through the voting system with, beginning with the, well, they're scanned, the ballots are scanned. Information from the ballots are then put onto a high-tech secure thumb drive called a V drive. Those V drives are then inserted into the tabulation computer. Information on those V drives can only be read by the software that's on that tabulation computer. The tabulation computer, once the V drives are inserted after 8 o'clock p.m. election night, that tabulation computer then produces the preliminary and then the final election results.
Well, we're gonna have to end this. We appreciate all your time and effort in coming.
If I could, just one more thing.
Sure.
Anyone who has questions or concerns about the integrity of the election administration process, has questions about how elections are administered, how voter registration is administered, I'm happy to talk with you as long as you're willing to listen. So I'm very accessible. My phone number, emails all over the website. And again, I'm happy to talk with you as long as you're willing to listen about elections process. And so thank you.
Very, very much. Thank you all for coming. Wanted to announce the results of our election, paper ballots. Everybody got reelected, so we're back into it for another year, and we'll be doing this again. Again, if you would like to help us out, we sure appreciate it. We are down a couple people, so the more the merrier. We love your input and your support as well. Thank you for coming tonight. You're welcome to clear up any pizzas that's left and hang out for a little bit. If you want to. Thank you. Any other questions about Mr. Kimsey?
There are no.
Overtime. As far as
30. Did we announce who they were? Okay, those of you who are online, I'm going to go ahead and sign off and close the meeting. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you have any questions, you can email the neighborhood association, or you can email me at the neighborhood office at marilee.mccall@clark.wa.gov. If you need to contact Greg Kimsey, that would be Greg at greg.kimsey@clark.wa.gov. Thank you for joining us.